a creative person knows how to take some ingredients that no one took before and put them together and create it and did something that sort of work well together and things I feel like you want to achieve as a car designer.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into Nodes of Design. To help support our mission spread knowledge, we have a very special guest on our today's episode. Let's welcome Sydney Hardy, who is an automotive designer presently working at Audi, and previously he had worked with brands like General Motors, Porsche, Peugeot and various other brands. In this episode, Sydney had shared great insights on transportation design. We have discussed on how Sydney's journey has shaped working with various top automobile brands around the world and what are the top skills that has helped him differentiate from other transportation designers. We also spoke on where does Sydney find his inspiration for new design projects and how much does the culture around him influences his design. In the end, we spoke on how pandemic had shaped the transportation industry and what are the new design considerations that automobile industries are going through. Hope you guys enjoy this episode, and on every Friday we release new episodes with different creative leaders from around the world to help you better understand different concepts related to design. So don't forget to tune in into Notes of Design every Friday. With that being said, happy designing everyone. Hi Sydney, welcome to Nodes of Design. It's a pleasure hosting you today on our show.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So Sydney, how's your day going?
Pretty good. It's Sunday morning right now. Pretty tough week, but yeah, it's good. It's great to get you on the phone and talking with you, and can't wait to share some of the experience I got.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So what is your journey into design and how did you start? What are your tips to the beginners out there?
So I'm French, nationality. I'm French. So I started so out of college, I started with a design school that's called Strat. It's a design school in France, close to Paris. Very great design school. Started there, and then I tried to get a lot of internship as well while I was at school. I feel like that's pretty important for a transportation designer to be able to get this professional experience very early on. So yeah, I mean, that's how I started. Basically, I did some internship at Porsche in Germany, intern at Peugeot in France. On General Motors as well in the US. So really a lot of internship and trying to gather a lot of experience even when you're a student, because internship is basically being able to get into the company, get a lot of professional experience from that, not only what you get at school, but also what you get from a professional world. And I think that's pretty important. And I mean, to me, if I had some few tips I would have to give to young designers that starts is try to get this internship, especially the first one in a car manufacturer, as early as you can, because it's usually the hardest to get. When you have no experience and you have to find an internship, it's really hard because people doesn't want to let you, they want you, they want people that already have one internship. So the first one was the hardest to get. And so, yes, I remember the first internship I did at Peugeot, for example, they didn't want me to be there to come intern because they had no budget for it. And I had to say I would do it for free because this kind of thing you need to have on your portfolio, and you want to have this thing on your portfolio and on your resume to be able to say that you work for this brand. And so, yeah, so don't hesitate to really get as much opportunity as you can when you're a student to start like that. And yeah, I mean, another thing that I remember at school is just keep progressing. It's always tough because you're always evolving, and you always feel like the level you show to people when you have this, what we call a portfolio. Portfolio is where you show your piece of work, your projects. It's always it doesn't really show your level because you're constantly progressing, and all the project, when you finish it, when you start the new one, is going to be better than the previous one, etc., etc. So your portfolio never really show. And I remember I was super frustrated because I was getting good, and then my portfolio wasn't showing that. So I had to work on even more project to build a better portfolio. And then it's the same. It's always the same that happens. And it tends to happen a little less when you get professional because you don't progress as much as when you're a student. But I remember that being a big frustration back there. I would say as well, keep progressing, keep sketching. I feel like sketching a lot is something pretty big. Get your brain working, but get your skills, your sketch skills mostly. I think it's pretty important for a designer to be able to take a piece of paper and just be able to sketch an idea or show an idea to someone or explain, be okay, I don't want this to be like this, and just be able to scribble on a piece of paper somehow. So yeah, I would say sketching is pretty important, and keep sketching. I feel like that those three things would be already very big pillar for success as a student in automotive design.
Thank you so much, Sydney. If you could give a brief about yourself to our audience out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm a car designer. I consider myself more like advanced automotive designer because I've worked a lot for like advanced design studio, which are like studio that are like satellite to the main car manufacturer, I would say. And so they'll specialize in advanced design, where you do mostly concept cars or like portfolio that's going to be the future portfolio for the brand. And yeah, I mean, I've worked at Peugeot, Porsche, GM, and I'm currently designer for Audi here in California. So yeah, what I didn't mention is after I finished my school in France, so I moved to Germany to intern at Porsche, and then I got an opportunity to go to Los Angeles to work for General Motors right out of school. So that was a huge opportunity, and it was a tough time because that was the first time I would leave not the first time I would leave the country, but first time I would really like leave across the ocean and in a very different country and go somewhere else. So yeah, pretty big step to take, but at the end I'm pretty happy because like you get a different culture here. It's a different different working atmosphere as well. There's a lot of opportunities in Los Angeles and the area for car manufacturer. Like we see all the startups, like when we see Tesla, Lucid, like there's a lot of companies that are like emerging and that's going to shape the car, the vehicle market of tomorrow. So yeah, I feel like it's a good place here to be for car design. But yeah, and so currently I'm working for Audi. I'm doing some like freelance mission here and there as well for the clients. Audi still being my main client here. But yeah, that's pretty much about it about me.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So you have worked with some of the top automobile brands so far. So it's not easy to get there. What do you think are the top skills that help you to differentiate from other transportation designers out there?
I think one of the search skills, I mean, especially in advanced design, I would say like the criteria might be different if you're looking at like a production oriented position. It always depends on like what you're looking for. But I would say for my job and what I'm looking at on people when it comes to hire them is probably the capacity of being creative, like the creativeness of someone, and see like if their work is sort of like something I've never seen before, like something I'm like, oh, okay, there's something very interesting in this work. Like and I feel like to achieve that kind of like level of like where you judge more about the project, you have to pass the boundary of like the skills and judging about like the tools. Or like what I always say is like you always have to master the tools and master your skills to be able to like show these, put that aside. If every time you do a project you worry about like your Photoshop rendering, or you worry about your sketch being not that great or whatever, you're gonna put a lot of energy into making your project look good, or like trying to like find a way to present it, and not really the content itself. So I feel like you always need to be free of that and say this. You always want to like know your tool pretty well, so you can really focus on what's important and the creative aspect of the project. And I feel like, that comes to like being like curious about things and being able to like gather some things. I always feel like being creative is like putting things together in a way and showing it to people. And like, I mean, it's the way you put, it's like doing a recipe and putting ingredients, and and I feel like a creative person knows how to take some ingredients that no one took before and put them together and create it and did something that sort of work well together. And that's always tough because like you still have people, they're doing the same recipe all over again, all the time. And that's not really creating things, it's just like following the recipe of someone. So yeah, I feel like there's a big thing about being able to put things together that are not really usually together and present it to a professional way. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things I feel like you want to achieve. I mean, as a car designer, I would say, this is one of the biggest skills I think you need, like creativity, being able to master your skills, I would say, because you want to hire someone that really knows how to do things and not going to be limited by what he knows.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So where do you usually find inspiration for your new design projects, and how much does the culture around the place you grew did influence in making these designs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get asked pretty often. Actually, where do I find inspiration? Yeah, there's one thing I do, and that always like helps me keeping like myself on the page. I like to gather some images, like having always like, I used to like go on, like I go to like Tumblrs and like Pinterest and this kind of website and try to like find. Pinterest is kind of tough right now because I feel like it always shows the same images and it's kind of like everybody has the same inspiration. So kind of like I tend to like not like it so much. It depends. For something is good because the algorithm is pretty strong. And what I do usually I gather some cool picture that I find is cool. It can be nothing related. It's just like if I find a picture on the Tumblr I like, I'll put it in a folder in my computer, and the computer background always runs on those images all the time. So it's like having a slideshow of like cool stuff that's sort of like moving in front of you all the time. Like right now I'm looking at like a cool design hairdryer on my background of computer and like some other super nice pair of shoes in the front. And they always change like that. And it's stuff that are not design related, but they're all design related, but they can be like, sometimes it's like a landscape or like, so I always try to like gather these images and it helps me like just having this constant like cool stuff, and cool inspiration in my head. And when it comes to one specific project, usually I feel like I usually know more or less where I'm going just because of that, I guess. I always know like, okay, I know exactly what it's going to look like. And what I'm looking for at this point is, and that's why Pinterest is kind of cool because the algorithm is so nice that after clicking on 3 pictures, it kind of like already puts you where you want to be. Like you click on one image and then you scroll down and you see another image that's sort of like a bit similar to what you want. You click on it. So I'm just saying for shape inspiration, and with Pinterest, you can pretty quickly get like a shape / material visual that sort of like helps you guide on the design process. And that's what helps you to do after like a mood board, like when you get those kind of images. But yeah, I feel like for creativity, this is pretty big. I feel like it really helps me like staying on the edge and having this constant creative stuff coming at me. Yeah, I would say this is one of the big things. I mean, I like watching like show about natures and stuff like or astronomy or like stuff that will like show that are pretty inspiring in terms of visuals and in terms of like story as well. I remember like there was some like cool show on Netflix about like the Earth. I don't remember the name of it, but trying to remember the name of it, but I'll see if I can find it. But it is a pretty cool documentary. It was like incredible images quality, and that really like puts you in the mood and be like, whoa, there's some stuff in there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much this kind of like folder images is pretty big to be able to gather yourself like this kind of like aesthetic things you like, it's like it's basically putting in a folder all the things you like and be able to create yourself like exactly. So I think that's pretty big, for inspiration.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So we are living through pandemic now. So how much do you think this will influence the transport industry, and what will be the new design considerations to automobiles now?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I forgot to mention. But right now, like there's a lot of studio here in California that runs from home, like including Audi. So it's very different. I would say it offers a lot more flexibility in terms of schedule maybe. And for creative, I feel like it's cool in a way. There's pros and cons for everything, but I feel like it opens the idea of being able to work and be a bit more like, let's say, isolated, still have like access to people and you still be able to talk, but you have this capacity of like maybe being cut of like background noises and people around you maybe coming at you and talking. So it's kind of interesting for like when you're in this kind of like flow of creativity to be able to be a bit more secluded. I feel like that's the positive things about it. I feel like the biggest change for the industry, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I would say like maybe, I mean, the confidentiality is still a problem when you talk about like car design, because a lot of data, a lot of the designs are confidential. So the very fact to like work from home and not have the compliancy that the company would have at home, like it's kind of it could be one of the, like, let's say I feel like the company might be a little more flexible towards that. And hopefully you see like this position like staying a little bit, I mean, or at least I've always said like in the studio, you should have like 2 days a week, maybe where you work from home. Because sometimes you don't need, as a designer, you want to be able to have the time to like do things by yourself and not have like to be around people. And you want to just produce something and show it after and share it and be able to get some insight from that. But I feel like that hopefully it's going to influence a little bit the way we work and be able to like gather maybe for meetings or for important things and be able to stay home and be able to get this creative moment maybe by ourselves. So hopefully it's going to change a little bit. I hope too it's going to change the industry a little bit.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So could you describe a typical day of yours at working at different these studios and any interesting stories that you want to point out to?
Yeah, I would say a typical day. I mean, I would say that's what I tell to students as well. Is like I usually like if they want to know usually what I do and like how much do I use 3D, how much do I use like Sketch and everything. I think I use a lot Blender, which is like a free 3D program. I feel it's getting pretty big right now because like the rendering software like in this program and the modeling as well is pretty intuitive, and it's a very good designer tool, I would say, because it allows you to like put in the 3D world. Like they remove the rigid aspect of 3D. I feel like it makes 3D pretty easy, and you can get some pretty nice really quickly. So I would say I probably use like 70% of the time Blender and 30% of the time I sketch and rendering with Photoshop. So the reason as well why I use Blender is because at Audi we use a lot of like the studio here. We're only digital, so we don't use clay model like a regular design studio. So we rely a lot on VR, virtual reality, to be able to judge models. So we build things in 3D and then put them in VR, so we can like judge them in VR. That's one of the pretty big thing at Audi that we incorporated since we created the studio. So yeah, VR. So yeah, it's a typical day is some sketching and some 3D modeling and gather on like everyone to like maybe judge on a VR model together and be able to make decisions come like this, and then come back to Blender and sketching and refining models and judging like that. But yeah, that's one of the pretty big thing. Yeah, as far as it'll, yeah, I remember like setting up like VR or even like trying VR when it started more or less like with the first HTC Vive. I was pretty big in VR and trying to learn VR things. And I remember before even like joining Audi, I was like trying and I took the seat out of my Jeep to be able to put in the living room and be able to like, I was using like this software like tilt brush where you can like draw around you. I remember like having the seats in the middle of the living room and like sitting on it and start drawing around me like some cool like interior architecture, in virtual reality around me. So that was a pretty cool. I remember like for first time in VR, I was like, wow, it was super impressive and that was like a lot of fun as well. So yeah, now we're like a long way from that, and like the technology is going to get better and better. But yeah, VR, I would say VR is a big thing of like the process here at Audi.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So, in your opinion, which car or bike in the market today is best in terms of design and why? Like, it's personal opinion, though.
Yeah, it's a tough question as well because I mean, best like it means it's kind of tough to like judge on like just the best one. Like I would say if I would just judge the design, I guess, and what I think right now the companies are doing the best in terms of like design. I think for exterior, even for like global, I feel like Peugeot is doing pretty well in terms of like what they incorporated in interior design the past few years. I think they came from a place and they are now in the position where they are like really the work they are doing in production in the models are pretty inspiring and pretty fresh in terms of like the way they break up the volumes, the way they think about ergonomy, and rethink a little bit of the way we're driving your car, things like this. I feel like they're pretty they did a big step forward on the approach, and so congratulations on that. And I mean, of course, I need to mention as well Tesla, brands like Tesla who really comes and brings like something really new on the table and disruptive. And those are the things I would like to see more from like car manufacturer, being able to take this risk and show. Yeah, I mean, having just one HMI to control and like having really the strong vision, let's say, and be able to apply it to like a production car. I think that's not even talking about the design per se, but just the architecture of everything. That's pretty spectacular. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even just come to the design at this point. It's also like the HMI and the way the whole ecosystem works. That's huge. And you said bike as well. Motorcycle is a little tricky, but if there's one brand in my heart, that would be Husqvarna with what they're doing, the 301, for example. Like I just feel like they came like motorcycles before that, and like even now I feel like the sports bike, the typical sports bike is always, to me, I always thought the bike was so over designed, and they always have like a lot of lines and a lot of like, because you want to make it aggressive, and it's kind of like you have to look mean and you have to like have a lot of like transformer like shape and things like that. And I think that's one of the only brand that came and they're like, we're not going to do that. And they're like, they really went with a very different design language, and they really like made a product that are so different from like everything that's on the market. I mean, you can tell even with KTM is like so much different as well. They might share like a lot of components, but they're like the language and the design language is so much different. So yeah, Husqvarna really out of this trend of like motorcycle, which I really appreciate when this kind of like disruptive sort of brand. So yeah, I would say Peugeot, Tesla, and Husqvarna, really 3 good brands and 3 good products.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So we'll conclude the show by you recommending 3 favorite books of yours and also people who inspire you the most in this space.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the books I have, it's not necessarily car design oriented books, because I like to read things that are more, let's say, first I'm going to start with the first one I have, which is That Will Never Work, from Marc Randolph, which is the CEO of Netflix. And this is basically the story of the co-founder who from the beginning like created Netflix, which was sending DVDs in an envelope and shipping them to like people like so they can watch it and send it back. And it was just like awesome, like just looking at these people that were like looking for ideas and looking for new things they could do. And right now, I think the position the company is into and where they came from. And the book is basically like all those people that at the beginning tell them like, oh, that would never work. Like that's an idea that won't work. And it's pretty inspiring to read this story. There's a lot of aspect to it. Like first, like creativity, or to bring an idea to like something like that works, that tangible, to like negotiations to be able to like raise funds, or like all the insiders information on Netflix. So it's pretty interesting book. I recommend it. The second one is Outliers from Malcom Gladwell, which is pretty cool as well, on the same kind of subjects as well. It basically shows a little bit like those people that really stands out and why they stands out. So and they have like a lot of stories through it. So it's a pretty good book as well. And the last one I don't have with me, it's called Eat That Frog, from Brian Tracy. And what I like about this book, it teaches a lot of like the way, like how to make yourself better as far as like productivity and like working better. Because I mean, I always had this problem as well, where like it's kind of tough to like sometimes motivate yourself to do things, or like to be organized, to be able to like for a project or whatever. And that really teaches you how to like manage your time, manage your like expectation, set up some goals in the right place. And so it's a pretty good book as well. I highly recommend that one as well. Yeah, that's about it for the books. I would say like, now it's a tough question. Like, who is the most inspiring for me of like artists? It's I have a bunch, and so it's kind of tough to make a selection on that. But I've always liked artists that are pretty diverse in what they do, because I feel like that's who I am as well. I'm not like pretty specialized. Like I like the work like from Oraito, which is a French designer as well that does furniture. I always like as well, I follow like Ash Thorpe a lot, and like seeing his work, like he always does like cinematic work. I recommend to check his Instagram, and he has a pretty cool podcast as well. Ash Thorpe is good. Yeah, I mean, I get a ton of inspiration. It's gonna be tough to like make a list, but yeah, those two already are like one of the strong people I'm inspired by. So yeah, that's about it for me.
Thank you so much, Sydney, for your wonderful time. We are looking forward to host you again in our upcoming episodes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.